Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. Did notice that YouTube is starting these videos very randomly.
So,
Hello, everyone.
hey, look at that. It started right on time, Kevin. Figures the day that I would say that, eh?
Anyway, it looks like YouTube is starting right on cue. So let's get to work. Let's try and good old Brian, 10 to 15 minutes. Let's see how we do. I like to put together a nice little sort of chart deck here for you guys to look at on the YouTube Daily Brief Recap and sort of summarize some of the stuff that we were talking about in the Daily Brief. And it's quite remarkable. We had a very long conversation today. We covered, almost every topic under the sun. What I did notice, and I think we did talk about this with the YouTube audience recently, we don't really want to see a rip-roaring US dollar index. That actually is kind of like a risk-off trade. Means get me out of everything. I don't want to take any risk. I'm going to buy US T-bills and just park my money and put my head in the sand. So if anything, it's kind of good in a way that we're seeing the US dollar index come off here a chunk today. And then we're back to sort of the conversations. Do we fractal out here now? You can see this fractal, boom, boom, boom. That led to this dump. This fractal, boom, 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 led to this, pullback, if you will. This beautiful fractal up top here, boom, 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 led to that sell-off. So are we painting another one of these beautiful fractals? We really won't know until today is finished. And then tomorrow, do we actually go and break these lows? So you guys have probably heard me say this recently. It's a very common pattern in technical analysis called the fractal. If anything, this isn't a bad sort of commentary of risk on versus risk off. We spent some time today through the Daily Brief, taking a good look at what's going on over in Europe. We've had these bearish chart patterns working on things like the British pound and the euro for a while. You notice that the pound is getting a bit of a counter trend rally, leaving a pretty big tail there. Euro's even got a little bit of a tail working here. These are weekly charts, and really long and short of it here is that was a beautiful head and shoulders top on the British pound. And we've been sort of talking for a while, let's maybe just avoid putting money to work in Europe until this whole mess resolves itself. We did get a report from the ground. Josh out of London gave us sort of a summary of the political situation right now. Frankly speaking, we don't have enough time to go into that. All I'm going to simply say is if the British pound does go and break these recent highs, I think that's, move stop to trailing levels hit on that trade. So if we do start sort of Wing out here, even though it is a very sloppy one, I don't have a problem if traders said, you know what, I just want to hop off and count my profits. Don't really have anything structurally working on the euro at the moment to justify hopping off. Move stop to trailing level there, hit as well. So if we do start seeing structure start to develop here, I suppose we could make the argument that that you could hop off there, but no real signals there. But I guess the whole point of this is I'm trying to convey this idea. Maybe we're back to sort of risk on to a certain degree. And I think that was actually predicated on what I would consider a fairly significant sort of fundamental event happening over in China. Where it almost feels like the whole world, if you will, breathed a sigh of relief, where the Chinese have sort of backed off a little bit. I talked lots in the Daily Brief today and yesterday about what I actually felt was a very heartfelt interview that Carrie Lam did recently, just showing that she's a human being just like the rest of us, and she's in a very, very tough situation right now. Talk about being caught between a rock and a hard place. It's a very, very difficult world she's living in right at the moment. So I don't envy her one bit. But long and short of it here, mainland China is sort of backing off a little bit on the pressure. And the whole world, it felt like, risk off, running into US dollar, running into all the risk off proxies, freaking out everybody. I just felt like on this event, the whole world just sort of breathed a sigh of relief. And we can sort of see that in risk on, risk off proxies. Things like the yen have backed off. Bonds, kind of wishy-washy, no clear signal. It's interesting how the gold and the metals, we talked lots in the daily brief today about the metals rally. They're still very, very strong. But risk on trades, the stocks have come roaring back here. Oil, of course, has come roaring back here. And then we have our crazy Bitcoin here. I'm not quite sure where the hell Bitcoin fits in this crazy world of risk on, risk off. I know there's going to be one gentleman who's probably going to write like about 2 or 3 paragraph comment. He seems to love to use this TRI video platform as his platform. I'm not quite sure why, but nonetheless, I'm sure he's going to comment about how he feels Bitcoin is not relevant here. I think it is. But nonetheless, jury's still out as to whether Bitcoin is risk on or risk off. But interesting to see how things like stocks and oil and a lot of things like British pound, stuff like that, US dollar index topping out. It just feels like we're back to sort of risk on is on. If we look at things like the stock market in general, I think, this almost looks like a case of higher lows and higher highs, but doing it in an incredibly painful, slow way. And I've been sort of, pissed off, for lack of a better term, that I can't get my shorts on the U.S. stock market because, when I look at something like the spiders, there's cheeky little gaps up top here, and there's these funny little wicks that I think need addressing before I can really start thinking about shorting. And that's what I've been waiting for. You see, there's also a nice cheeky little gap right here, and I've been waiting for these gaps and reload zones and all that kind of stuff to be traded to get, just at least a little bit of a put option going. So I'm not really doing anything through this. And, this is, we talked about this summer market coming out of the summer, and if things are calming down a little bit in Hong Kong, maybe we can get that counter trend rally back up top. That'll give me my opportunity. And of course, if we just blast off to new highs, then I know that, okay, just cool your jets. There's no real reason to get too excited. Also, too, our sort of cycle thesis. This actually is supposed to be like a bottoming window right at the middle of the cycle, and we're supposed to be looking for a stock market peak here, middle to the end of September. So, if that risk on thesis is back on, we could very easily see a nice little rally window here through to the second or third week of September. So keep that in mind as well. I would love the opportunity to go put shopping somewhere up top here. That would be awesome. But it's not here today. Moving on in our little chart deck here. As I had sort of said, that gold is still bucking the overall trend. I think it's really dangerous to call tops in the gold and the silver market. They are just going absolutely parabolic right now. And my one sort of big proxy in this space is this North American palladium. I've talked about it a lot recently, so I'm not going to really, beat the drums too hard. All I'm going to simply say is I'm a really, really big fan of 50% rules. So if we actually draw a 50% retracement from this low back up to this high, you'll notice that we're coming into that level here pretty soon, right? So there is 1845. That is my price objective. It will basically fill in this gap, might even rally up and try and fill in that gap as well. And you think A, B, C, Ds, that would take us up into that area. And the underlying market that's driving this, palladium, I think looks extremely bullish here. And as well, too, and this was kind of interesting, North American Palladium also, has palladium plays, but they're also big into platinum as well. And platinum is just taking off like a rocket, finally trying to join the big brothers. So beautiful breakout on platinum. And I even, sort of challenged site people. Let's go look at and see if we can find some junior platinum proxies. I know there's one called Big Bear or Bear Creek or something like that. I used to trade years and years and years ago. That was just a pure platinum play. But platinum is just taking off like a rocket here. So anyway, and let's also just keep that in context, right? If we zoom out on platinum, you can see that platinum used to be like almost $2,500 an ounce. So I'm not really calling for new all-time highs here. Really, all I'm calling for is just give me a nice little 50% retracement, nice healthy bounce, and I think that's perfectly natural. Palladium's an interesting character because it is sort of one of these rare earths, and Russia controls a huge chunk of the palladium market, so it kind of marches to its own drum beat. But, bottom line here is, as I said just a moment ago, I think it's a little dangerous for us to call tops in the metals right now. They've got a head of steam behind them. And I don't think the seasonal window ends for the metals for another couple months. Maybe I'll even talk about that in future broadcasts. All right, so that's sort of your metals update. And my sort of main proxy big stocks is North American Palladium, and it broke out to new highs here. So again, I'm still pretty bullish. And also, too, I said the other day, it's kind of odd to have the U.S. dollar moving up and the metals moving up. So if we do actually fractal out here on the U.S. dollar, then that would help the metals markets as well. Now, let's talk a couple stock ideas. First and foremost, let's talk about a losing trade. I used to work with the floor traders, and they would always say, you can't judge a guy based on his winning trades. Really, how you have to judge somebody is how they act when they have a losing trade. So here's a really good example where you can see there was this floor on the stock way back when. That was back in 2018. We came right down against the lows. We put in a double bottom here. And I said, all right, I'll go buy this W. It's a dirty W, right? Because if we change this to a line chart, there was no W there. So that might have been a little bit of a mistake on Brian's part. But nonetheless, I did buy this W, and I simply said, look, if we break these lows, I'm going to walk away. So we broke those lows yesterday, and I walked away. So good example of a losing trade. How do you act? Just simply, no ego. Formation failed, just walk away. And you can see this thing's sort of drifting lower here even this morning. Very dangerous. I don't even want to be in this name anymore. But what I wanted to do was just demonstrate to you, number one, nobody's going to be right 100% of the time. Get used to it. And then number two, how do you act when a trade goes against you? Now, a couple new ideas. We had our, and this was kind of funny, we had our TRI Tuesday Secret Options Formula Club. TRI SOF Club. Really, it's only open to people that finish the level 3 program because it's all about derivatives, and I don't like new people getting involved in derivatives markets. But like an idiot, Brian went and hit the public broadcast, and about 45 minutes into the meeting, somebody PM'd me on the site, Brian, you do realize this is being broadcast live on YouTube? And I was like, oh, oops. So you guys all, anybody who did get to watch that yesterday got kind of a free treat, sort of how we look at the market from an options perspective. But, I'll just simply mention one idea that was mentioned yesterday by Casey, totally awesome stock picker. This 3D systems, 3D printing business, I mean, look how far this stock has just collapsed, eh? So we're right back down against bottom end of ranges, and Casey mentioned, keep in mind that yesterday he mentioned this, so the stock was here. He was kind of like, I'm watching this double bottom. If it comes in, I'm probably going to go buy some calls. And sure enough, boom, there it goes. So there's definitely an idea for you to chew on. My sort of feeling here is I'd like to see this trend line broken, which it's doing right now, and then give me a W on the other side of the trend line. So I'm going to be watching. My hunch is it probably pops up and fills in these gaps, this gap in particular. And then on that event being done, if we can get any kind of reload zone pullback, test of the original double bottom, and then give me some sort of buy signal, I'll probably go pull the trigger. And maybe if we're really lucky, something like that, I'll get in on. But there's definitely a name for you to keep an eye on. Cute little double bottom right down at the very bottom of it in its range. Stock I've been talking to all of you guys on YouTube for a bit about here recently, and then we'll sort of segue this. I think actually it makes sense to segue this direction. Let's go, I think, forward. Nope. They're wrong. Back. I went and bought this thing as we were getting the daily brief going this morning. hopefully everybody can see this. And really what I liked about this, I talked about it yesterday, so we don't need to talk too much more about this, but beautiful double bottom, clothesline double bottom too. You can see some buying interest coming in here. So on the double bottom, Brian, he loves his W's. I just went and pulled the trigger. What's really cool about this too, and you don't know how the day's going to progress. I mean, maybe this thing craps out, but this is also actually a 2-bar pattern, what's called a doji gap bar. And if we actually trade up through the top of this candle tomorrow, that actually is a huge buy signal in itself, and it probably means that we're launching higher. But just full disclosure, I talked about this recently with you guys. I said I would go and buy some if the W came in. I went and bought some. So remember, this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just simply telling you what I'm doing with my money. And so on the double bottom, I went and picked up some stock. So we'll see how it goes. And just like that little pharma stock I told you about, if we break these lows, I'll just simply walk away. This is my risk window. And as you can see, if I just do something like a simple 50% rule, I'm not really looking for new highs, just looking for a very technical pattern. Hopefully everybody can see taking this long position here and risking to the bottom, something like that, and then looking to take profits at the 50% roll. That's a 6-to-1 risk-reward ratio. I'm running out of time here. So I'll leave the conversation at that, but we'll probably come and talk more about this thing as the days and weeks goes by. Really interesting story here. Let's call it a 5-to-1, something I just eyeballed this. So, all right, we'll finish off our conversation here today with just a quick boo at the corn. We talked yesterday about trend lines being tagged. How this really is an important battle, and I'm really worried for sort of new people that come in. It took a long time for me to learn this, but be very careful about taking a trade right at a trend line. What we would ideally like to see is the trend line broken and then a W come in on the other side of the trend line. So also too, I noticed that if you draw a fib just from this range to this range, notice there is the 50% level, which is going to correspond against that high there. And I think that's what the market really needs to tag. Here on Coinbase, you see that high was 790 and the 50% level is 821. So I still think that there's a little bit more uppy to go here. Now, for me to get like uber bullish, then really what I need to see is give me some sort of W. And really, I don't want to see lower lows, so that's actually not good. Just give me some sort of W on the other side of this trend line. If I get something that looks like that, then you can start to see my bullish bot kind of setup start to come alive. But this is what I'd really like to see. Of course, the market will never do exactly what you want. And then I'd also, I know it's beating a dead horse, but I still actually believe that we need to trade back down to this 8,500 here by, this window, end of September kind of idea. Maybe that corresponds with the stock market peak and then it's dump. I don't know. And even just in this, all I see is the market in a trading range. I do know that there's a lot of people on, Twitter and social media and that are just going straight up, told you to buy, and really put those opinions away. Brian's opinion is worthless. What you really want to do is trade setups. If you can find 3 unrelated reasons to consider taking a trade, great, and then just live by the sword. Right now, I don't have 3 unrelated reasons to justify taking a trade off of this time frame. I still think we're just stuck in a trading range. So I do like the idea that they say that the companies often can sort of know what's going to happen in the business ahead of time. So, maybe we're getting a little bit of a tell here with things like Riot trying to break out here, crypto-related names trying to bottom. I don't know. But the point of the matter here is I don't have enough of a reason here to justify pulling the trigger on the long side. And if anything, off of like lower time frame setups, I actually think that we came into a profit window and we're still sort of flirting around with that. Okay, that's 19 minutes. Oh, F me. Well, I went a little bit long there today. The only thing I want to finish off with, I've had quite a few responses about the raffle for this upcoming term school for the level 1 seat. So I think we'll go ahead with that. The current level 1 instructor that we have is a gentleman by the name of Grim. We call him the Wookiee on the site. I think he's an excellent instructor for new people to trading. He's very patient and a really, really nice guy. PMA for the win, all that kind of stuff. He and I are going to do the Broiler Chicken Show together this Sunday. And we're going to sort of raffle off that seat. Kevin here, who's helps me with the daily briefs, he's already put together a spreadsheet. So we're just going to go through all the recent daily briefs and all the tweets and stuff like that to see who people who asked. We're going to use your username that you posted there. Please don't duplicate yourself. If we find out that you actually did like 2 or 3 entries, that's instantly kicked out of the competition. So please don't do that. But long and short of it here is we're putting together the list. And this Sunday's Broiler Chicken Show will have that official raffle. So, if you haven't put your name down, be sure to put your name down for the raffle in like the comment section here on these little daily briefs. I'll mention it again tomorrow and on Friday. Good luck to everybody who wants to participate. Okay, I think I'll leave it at that. Talked way too much, but you guys love it when I go way over 15 minutes anyway. So have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best, and bye for now.